And now joining me here on an America East chat, Ryan Odom, the head coach of UMBC, fresh off a sweep at UNH in advance of Hartford coming in. And first, Ryan, let's deal with the sweep. RJ had 27, so he had a significant weekend for you. UNH was coming off splitting their trips. They were playing well. I know they're not 100% healthy, but assess that weekend sweep for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime, in this conference, this particular year, obviously it's unique for all of us. But anytime you can come away from a weekend, having won 2 games, that's obviously a huge victory, for your program, especially when you're playing a team like New Hampshire, who, they've got a really good coach, great coach, and good players as well. Veteran team, a team that's returning quite a few guys from previous years. They've gotten better every year since they came in as freshmen. And like you mentioned, they have had some injuries. Coach Harry and I were talking a little bit before the game. It's a little bit like our team last year, had a lot of guys coming back, and we had some early injuries at the beginning of the season. And then we began to round into form later in the season as we got deeper into it, as guys began to come back. But I really like his team. I felt like our team fared extremely well. Obviously, game 1 was a great game for us. Game 2 was a hard-fought contest, and we were fortunate to win.
And tell me about the offense and the way you guys have been playing now as you get a little deeper into the conference season.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, we've tried to pick up the pace a little bit. I think you're seeing that in the numbers. We're trying to get out and run on makes or misses. And I think we've got a roster that it makes sense for us to do that, to try to score early in transition. But at the same time, we've got some good front court guys that deserve the ball inside. And then we've got some guards that can get to the rim as well. So I really like our team. I think we're a versatile squad. I think we've got a good balance between inside and out. And, our defense has fared pretty well so far early in the season.
So was the 27, is that, obviously you can't expect that. I'm not saying it's an outlier, but does that change any of your narrative of what can be expected and achieved?
No, I mean, you're talking about for RJ in particular? Yeah, no, I mean, I think he's got to just play the game as it comes to him. RJ naturally, when he first got to us as a freshman 2 years ago, I had to beg him to shoot. And, he was kind of known as the safe player for us and would get us in offense and would really defend. And, his numbers, back that up. And we've encouraged him over the last 2 years to just try to, get outside of his comfort zone and be more aggressive offensively. And I think that's why you're seeing some numbers like that from time to time. And I think certainly in that particular game, the second game at New Hampshire, we needed somebody to be aggressive and get to the rim, and he took it upon himself to help us out.
So we've seen in really majority of conferences that are playing these back-to-backs, it's difficult to sweep. We've now gone through a couple of weekends of it. You got Hartford coming in next. What is your assessment of how this is working so far with these back-to-backs?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all like it. We understand that this was the best way forward for all of us to give us a chance, to have a season. And it's extremely unique. Our entire focus is on the first game each and every weekend. If you go in thinking that you're going to sweep somebody, you'll probably get swept. And so for us, it's all about what can we do to win that first game, and then we'll figure out what happens. That second game really doesn't exist to us, outside from a mindset standpoint. And then once you get through the first one, you reassess, figure out what happened, and you really try to attack that next day. And, it's interesting. I've talked to some coaching buddies. I've talked to, obviously my players. It's a little bit like summer basketball. You play pickup, you go in, one group has their team. We have our team over here and we win the first one, and it's like, okay, let's run it back. Let's see what happens. And, I think it's so fresh. I think that's why you're seeing some variance there, in that second game. And that's why that second game is so hard if you actually won the first one, because it is so fresh. You don't have 3 weeks to kind of let it die down a little bit.
So how critical is rest as soon as that first game ends before you tip that second one? Because obviously it feels like, and I think this is true, the majority of times that second one is going to be a day game, to allow to get back for the traveling team. So the turnaround is very quick in terms of probably not practicing much at all, if anything, just a walkthrough to get your guys off their feet before they have to play again.
Absolutely. And after doing it a couple of weekends, I honestly feel like it's a little bit easier on the road than it is at home because, everybody kind of disperses when you're at home. We're not staying in a hotel and you don't have as much access to them. When you're on the road, everybody, you're in the hotel together. You can kind of do recoveries in the meeting rooms. You can show them film. It's just an easier setup for us. And that's just my personal opinion. But, I think to your point, it's huge. I mean, if you're not rested and ready to play that next day to go at it again for another 40 minutes in a high intense game, you're probably going to get beat. And so we've just tried to make sure that they're getting rest and recovery, eating, and doing the best that we can with it.
And Ryan, I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up that, we obviously know you've had the most historic 16-1 victory all time, the only one. When we get to March Madness, whomever it is in the 15-16, without, and we don't know if there are going to be no fans, but there's certainly not going to be any kind of atmosphere that you experienced in Charlotte that year, a couple of years ago, where the crowd gets behind the underdog and you can feed off of that energy. So if we don't have that, how much will that hurt the teams that are further down in the seed line from pulling off those kind of upsets?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that could be, certainly a factor. I was actually, when you started asking the question, I was thinking it would be the reverse because there were no fans. And initially, obviously the bigger teams are going to have more fans at the games than the one bid league teams. But, as you stay in the game, you're correct. The momentum shifts. And then all of a sudden the fans just jump right on board, with the underdog. And so that will be a factor, but I think it all comes down to what happens in between those lines. As you know, anything can happen in that 40-minute stretch, in that particular game. So, I'm hopeful that somebody else is able to do it one day, and certainly we'd love to be back in the NCAA tournament, if we're fortunate enough.
Appreciate it, Ryan. Stay safe.
All right, thanks so much, Andy.